afternoon, Transpac race fans. This is Dobbs Davis with Seahorse Magazine, giving you the report from the 48th biennial Transpac race from LA to Honolulu. Today is July 18th, and it's a rainy July 18th here in Los Angeles. One of the stories for today is this one you see here. Weather map showing lots of rain squalls in the area. Over here, actually, this is refreshing in a little bit of a slower rate than I hoped, but we're actually sitting here in LA Yacht Club in rain, something unusual for July. Squalls have gone through. They've really affected the winds at the start. As you can see by some of the weather reports around here, southerly winds. So, oh, there we go. There's our refresh, and yeah, significant rain. I mean, it's not just a sprinkle, it's squalls, and there's even been rumbles of thunder and lightning, so it's really got everybody stumped. It's all part of that edges of a tropical storm system, Dolores, that everybody's been talking about. It's well south of here, but it is dumping a whole lot of moisture into the area. So, an unusual start today. The Division 1, 2, and 3 boats were starting on, I could barely lay the starting line on starboard, had flopped over to port quite quickly, are now heading out toward the west end. On port tack, the wind is varied from 10 knots when you get something coming out of a squall down to 5 or so. So everybody's struggling to get out of here and off the coast. So I'll come back to that in a minute when we look at the larger weather map. But let's go back to our tracker. So familiar tracker here from Yellow Brick, 6-hour delay, of course. Once again, same story as yesterday, the last few days. The bulk of the fleet here, the start boats on day 1 on Monday, Divisions 7 and 8, are enjoying great Transpac conditions. These are the typical breezes that you see. The wind is starting to shift a bit from the northwest to the north, and even maybe clocking around east of north. But boats are moving along quite well. So our Division 7 leader and overall leader actually on ORR scoring right now is Patriot, J44, same leader as yesterday. But look at that speed, 9.4 knots. They're going along quite well and leading the pack almost boat for boat. Just north of them, here it is, Celerity, if I can bring them up. Yeah, Patriot is to the north, and where is Celerity? Anyway, they're in there too. Let me zoom in and get them a little better. There we go. Actually, Marjorie, look at how close Marjorie is with Patriot. They've got 8.9 knots on Marjorie since the last report, 9.4 on Patriot. Marjorie, big 59-foot catch, goes quite well on a reach, but Patriot doing a little bit better. So probably a really clever sail combination there is punching them along quite well. Celerity, a Santa Cruz 37, also, look at this, over 10 knots. This is the first time I've seen over 10 knots in anybody in the fleet, except, of course, when we zoom out, these guys over here, Lending Club. Tracker's still on for Lending Club. They have as well as 6-hour delay. Now, just doing some math on this, looking at this depiction of in this report, they're 550 nautical miles from Oahu, but this is 6-hour delay. So if we make the assumption, conservative assumption, that they are going an average of 20 knots, then that puts them 120 miles closer at 430 miles. And if you look at the record time, right, and actually, let's see, right now it's 3 days, a little over 3 days into when they started on Wednesday. So with 430 miles left, unless the wind really shuts off, these guys are really, really safe on breaking a record. If they get going really fast and keep up at the current pace, they might even be able to do it inside 5 days. But the record is 5 days, 9 hours and 20 minutes. I see no problem short of some disaster, knock wood. Hope that doesn't happen for them. They did have a report yesterday of having hit something out there on one of their foils, but it didn't damage the foil, so they were able to keep going. So we don't see any evidence of them throttling back. Here it's showing 29 knots of boat speed, so they're still ripping along quite well. You can see the huge deviation that they have from the rum line. At some point, of course, they're going to have to jibe and make that final approach into Hawaii. So, big story there. Now, let's look at our Thursday starters. You can tell even at this scale that they're still struggling out there. Look at those tracks. The tracks are really quite erratic. They're struggling trying to get through this light air that they have. Now, interesting here, Kazan has got 7.8 knots, but it's not going really in the right direction, at least in this snapshot of their progress. Others are moving along. The Japanese on Crescent 3 at 5.2 knots. A little worried about this boat, Adrenaline, having gone that far north at 5.5 knots. Now, again, I think what they have here are headwinds. They're just trying to keep the boat going. They're really just trying to move the boat as best they can. But 5.7, Hamashi with the crown on. Now, they're starting to move quite well, actually. So they might be punching out of whatever the bad area is in here that they've been enduring for the last 24 hours. 9 knots at 284 is really, really good. So Greg Slingstead and his team on Hamashi doing a good job in Division 4. Here's Horizon in the fabulous 50s class, 7.6 knots on the Santa Cruz 50. They're doing quite well. Now, Horizon, of course, a favorite. They won their class last year, and I think at least a couple of other times in the past. So this is one of the favorites in the race. They're quite good at keeping that boat moving. We also have another group down here, that big Swan, Second Wind, Swan 651, probably the heaviest boat by far of anybody else out there in this group. They finally got that thing rumbling along at 7.7 knots. They were mired up in here for a while. The track is starting to straighten out, and they're starting to get going. And then we have some others in here in this group. So you can see that, again, erratic tracks, low rates of progress. But the good news is they're starting to straighten out, those that have gotten far enough west to get out of that. Little other bits of news, unfortunate news, is that we've got a couple of boats turning back. This boat here, Bazinga, Hobie 33, they've had rudder problems. I don't know the nature of those problems, if those are a rudder breakage or just damage, but they're going to have a hard time. Their alternate steering method may not be the fastest, because you see only at 2.1 knots. It's going to take them a while to get back. They're over 800 miles into the race, so to get back to the mainland, it's quite a long time. Avanti is another boat that's turned back with rudder problems. They're doing a little bit better. Their whatever steering mechanism they have going is working for them in a better way. So 5.5 knots in their progress. So, last item is here with our weather predictions, weather maps. This is that Wonder Map, wonderground.com. If you go into there, find Los Angeles, and then hunt around for your model data is the where you want to go. And I've been looking at the GFS and the Euro models. Those are usually the two standards used for doing weather predictions. The meteorologists use these. Wind is what you want on mat type. You can change that to isobars like I had in my earlier shows, but I think the wind here with its color coding is quite useful. The colors we don't like to see are this gray and pink. That's under 3 and under 6 knots of wind based on the isobaric spacing in these areas, and boy, it's just not good. This is the starting area over here on the upper right corner. That's the Channel Islands. They, as you can see, we got very light air, winds out of the south, light and squirrely. This is a track over here of the tropical depression. Dolores is where it's projected to go. Right now it's centered down here, quite far away from the racetrack, but the effects of this and the moisture coming out of it are starting to get in the area. Very light southerlies, southeasterlies. That's what the fleet is dealing with here today. Now, as they get out in here and tonight, actually, I'll scroll back a little bit. This is actually for late tonight, early tomorrow morning. This is about what we have now, and it seems to corroborate with the observations out there. But there we go. Very very light, big light patch out here. Our division 3 and 4 starters. Sorry, 4, 5, and 6 starters from Thursday are just getting through this stuff, and they're starting to move along. But this is what lies ahead for our starters today in divisions 1 through 3, as well as the multi-hulls. Scrolling forward into Monday, late Sunday night, it just doesn't get any better. This big patch of light air may continue to plague our Thursday starters. Might even start to reach forward far enough west to start to slow down the Monday starters. Monday starters might be just enough ahead of it so that their breeze doesn't lighten up too much. They've been enjoying a great race so far. And if we go even a little further forward into, this is Monday night. I hate to go much further forward than that. You can see, according to this GFS model, it just doesn't look good on the racetrack. This big area of light air is just right over top of the course area. If we say, well, we don't like that, if we don't like that and we like the Euro model better, and we switch over to that, let that crunch away, and there we go. Euro model doesn't give us any much better hope either. It doesn't make it quite as light and patchy as GFS, but this could simply just be rounding in the curvature and the rounding programs and the way the model is run. But anyway, the news is that it's just going to be lighter ahead for these guys, and they're going to have to find a way to punch through. So that's our analysis for today. The last start has happened. They're off the coast. They're going to have a tough couple of days. Looking better for our Thursday starters. They are starting to get into a little bit of pressure, but it's not going to be anything earth-shaking. And then our leaders, not our leaders, but our Division 7 and 8 guys who started Monday are still going to be rolling along, but they might hit some of this lighter as well. So that's it for today, Saturday, the 18th of July. I'm Dobbs Davis from Seahorse Magazine signing off for now, and we'll hope you can join us again for our weather analysis tomorrow on the 19th.